Hello everyone, Bear here, and today we're going to be talking about the 8 new sets of armor that are coming from the Stonethorn DLC that's coming out in just a few months. So let's hop right into it. The first set is from Thorn. It is called Figs Treachery. This is the light set. So the 2-piece adds 833 spell critical, 3-piece adds 1096 magicka, the 4-piece gives you 129 spell damage, and the 5-piece increases spell damage by 372, and also increases damage taken from Flame and Fighters Guild abilities by 10%. So this set I'm actually a little bit confused on. Does it increase your damage taken from Flame and Fighters Guild abilities by 10%, or does it increase your enemy's damage taken from Flame and Fighters Guild abilities by 10%? I'm honestly not sure. This set will be pretty good if it, increases your enemy's damage taken by 10%. But if it increases your damage taken by 10%, it is absolutely not worth it. But I have no idea. It's kind of ambiguous, so it could go either way. I'm reading this as it increases your enemy's damage taken by 10% from Flame and Fighters Guild abilities. But it very well could mean you take more damage from Flame and Fighters Guild abilities. And that would just be just completely terrible. Next up, we've got the medium set from Thorn. It is called Unleashed Terror. The 2-piece adds 129 weapon damage. The 3 and 4-piece add 1096 stamina. And the 5-piece is pretty cool, and it seems like it'd be good for PvP. So when you deal direct damage with a charge, leap, teleport, or pull ability, you cut your enemy, causing them to bleed for 5 seconds, dealing 19,728 physical damage over the duration. No one's going to be really using this in PvE, because you really don't need to use a gap closer ability in PvE, just because enemies come to you and stuff like that. But, so this is definitely a PvE, or a PvP-based, set. But the problem with that is that currently, in the current meta of PvP, dots are kind of useless. Dots can be cleansed off of you really, really easy. And they just don't deal a lot of damage. So if they were going for a PvP set of gear, because, you're doing... Gap closers are mainly for PvP. I just don't see this doing, being very good, just because you can either cleanse it super easy or just completely ignore it and heal through it, just because damage over time abilities aren't good in PvP at the moment. Next up, we've got the heavy set from Thorn called Crimson Twilight. The 2-piece adds 1,206 maximum health. The 3-piece adds 4% healing taken. The 4-piece adds 1,206 maximum health again, and then the 5-piece, after taking damage, you surround yourself in an 8-meter mist of blood. After 2 seconds, the mist is violently siphoned back into your body, dealing 8,220 bleed damage to nearby enemies, and healing you for 100% of the damage done. Now, this set sounds an awful lot like Livewire, doesn't it? Or, I believe there's another set that does something similar to Livewire also. Basically, or like Leeching Plate. These basically all do the same thing. Or even Baharaha's Curse, I believe it's called, where it, damage that it deals is, you heal for it. And there's just so many sets that do this, and it seems so, it's just overused. It's not like a unique thing anymore. It's really cool. I think, it deals damage and it heals you for it. But if I'm being totally honest, there's so many sets that already do this, and it's there needs to be something more unique to it, Livewire already does this, Leeching Plate does this. This is really nothing new. It's just a copy and paste of an old set. And finally, we are to the monster set for Thorn. It is called Lady Thorn. So the 1-piece adds 1,206 maximum health. The 2-piece, whenever you cast an ability that costs health, you spawn a blood ball for 10 seconds. You or an ally can activate this synergy, and it deals 5,000 disease damage to nearby enemies and applies Major Maim, reducing their damage done by 30% for 5 seconds. This is a, tank-based set. It's pretty cool. Adding, giving enemies major maim and making them do, 30% less damage is pretty awesome. And it doesn't seem to have a cap on how many enemies it can hit. So if you're a tank and you have a ton of enemies on you, and this synergy pops up whenever you do an ability that costs health, like the blood fountain in the fighters or undaunted skill tree, it'll pop this up. You can use it. You give all these enemies major maim, and they do less damage, which is pretty nice. I like this set. Now we're on to the sets that come from the dungeon Stone Garden. So let's see what these are about. We've got Elemental Catalyst. This is the light set. Adds 1096 maximum magicka. 3-piece adds 833 spell critical. The 4-piece adds another 1096 maximum magic. And then whenever you deal flame shock or frost damage, you apply a stack of flame shock or frost weakness to the enemy for 5 seconds. Each stack of an elemental weakness increases their critical damage taken by 6%. An enemy can only have 1 stack of each element at a time. So this kind of reminds me of that set, what is it, like Secession or something like that, where whenever you hit them with an element, they take more damage from that element. So again, it feels like we're seeing repeats. But this one is kind of cool because it makes them take more critical damage. No one's ever going to be using the Frost one, though. Everyone's either going to be using the Flame or the Shock. We all know Flame does more damage, so I would assume that you're basically always going to have the Flame buff up. There's really no reason to run the Frost one. Frost one's kind of lame, but it's not a bad set. It just seems really uninspired, and it reminds me of, I think the set is called Secession. Really reminds me of that one. Next up, we have the medium set from Stone Garden called Kraglin's Howl. The 2-piece adds 833 weapon crit. 3-piece adds 129 stamina recovery. The 4-piece adds 129 weapon damage. And the 5-piece, after an enemy you've recently damaged dies, you let out a howl, granting 3 allies within 15 meters the Heed the Call synergy. Activating this synergy grants you and the activator 12 ultimates. So, at first glance, there's a lot of synergy-based sets in this dungeon pack. And also, I wonder if this would be good on, like, a werewolf or something. So you can, like, get your ultimate back faster to, like, pop werewolf more often. Because it is, like, you let out a howl and stuff. But it's a pretty cool set. It seems more like a support set. But we'll just have to see how it does. It looks pretty cool, at least. Next up, we have the heavy set of armor from Stone Garden called Arcasis Genius. So the 2-piece adds 1206 maximum health. The 3-piece adds 1487 armor. The 4-piece adds 1206 maximum health again. And then the 5-piece is, whenever you drink a potion, you and 3 group members gain 44 ultimate. This effect can occur once every 30 seconds. I can definitely see this one being used in PvP quite a bit. Being able to get that much ultimate back, whether it be on like a Nightblade or a Dragon Knight doing leaps, that's a ton of ultimate, for being honest. And maybe this might get nerfed, because 44 ultimate is quite a bit, but this set, I can definitely see people running this in PvP quite a bit, just for all that ultimate you get. That's like, it's a ton of ultimate, really. And finally, we are to the monster set for Stone Garden. The 1-piece adds 833 weapon critical. The 2-piece is, your heavy attacks will tether you to enemies within 10 meters for 5 seconds. Enemies touching the tether take 1,906 physical damage every 1 second, and you gain a stack of Husk Drain. You can gain up to 15 stacks, and when the enemy moves 12 meters away, or if it's broken, you gain 30 weapon damage per Husk Drain stack. So this kind of works a lot like Warrior's Fury. The longer you're tethered to the enemy, the more stacks you will get, and the more stacks gives you more damage. I believe if you get all 15 stacks of this, you will get 450 weapon damage for 5 seconds. There's a note here that says you don't have to do like fully charged heavy attacks, so like a medium heavy attack will make this tether go off. So this is a pretty cool set. They're really trying to incentivize people doing heavy attacks on enemies, which, you do heavy attacks to sustain. So I could definitely see people, running this set because you get all these stacks of damage. It's like Warrior's Fury, and you got to throw in some heavy attacks, so you'll pretty much always have this up. It's, I like it. It sounds pretty neat. Gotta be honest with you guys, some of these sets seem pretty cool, and a few other ones honestly seem like repeats. Like the one where, you explode and it heals you for all of the damage done. Like, we've seen that one before. It's kind of lame. Livewire does it. Leeching Plate does it. Baharaha's Curse does it. But, not too awful. The sets seem pretty cool. I'm excited to see, if they're buffed or if they're nerfed in any way. I imagine the one that gives you 44 ultimate will probably be nerfed. I hope it's not, but it probably will be. Anyway, guys, thank you all for watching. If you like the channel, subscribe to it. If you like the video, give it a like. And I will see you all in the next ESO video. And also, we just hit 300 subs recently. So, that's pretty cool. Alright, see you dudes.